People say less is more. At Red Barn, we think less is better. It's what you won't find that sets our natural premium pet food apart. No byproducts, no corn or soy, no fillers. Just the natural ingredients your pets need to live the healthy life they deserve. Look at the label. We want you to. Red Barn Naturals Pet Food. Simply the best. Find it in your local pet specialty store. Visit redbarninc.com/coupon to save $1 off your first can.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to Conscious Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Linda Summers, and these shows are about shifting consciousness and awareness in relationships and all that that encompasses. And so I'd love to take you on a journey of exploration into relationships with our guest experts on the show as to what that looks like. And they will be providing you with information as to how you can become more connected with yourself. And today's topic is abundance consciousness with Lynn Jarvis. And before we bring Lynn on board, I'd like to give you a little bit of background information about her. Lynn is a spiritual teacher, intuitive, energy healer, and author who specializes in abundance consciousness, the fountain versus the well. She sees the world through eyes of clarity, consciousness, and love. She lives as she teaches with synchronicity at the fingertips, blessings along the way, and signs all day. She is an adventurer at heart, an ascension specialist, intuitive practitioner, and inspirationalist. And with that, I'd love to welcome Lynn to the show. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
I'm doing great, and it's wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. And this is such a great topic that I'm looking forward to have the conversation. But we do have a caller, so would you like to see if this caller has a question or just wants to listen in?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. We have a caller from area code 209. Hello.
Oh, I'm just listening in. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Okay, well, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Lynn, so let's first begin. How did you get to this place? Because you are a manifesto fester. You manifest very fast and quickly, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to first take a moment and start this call like I do every session or every part of my day and call in all of our angels and guides and any other celestial divine light being that wants to be here for the benefit of this session. I call a column of white light to me and through me, and a column of white light to you and through you if you choose to receive.
Yeah.
And then I just feel them all come in, and then I flow and listen from there. So if you're asking how I got there, I'm going to use that as my first response, my first answer. That is how I get here. Every moment of every day, I'm consciously interacting with the celestial realm, divine light beings, my spirit guides, and my higher self. And I feel like when we really tune in and we really listen and we get in touch with not only our bodies and our minds, but our spirit and all of that has to come with it as well, then we're a constant compass or a constant magnet or identifier for success and wealth and abundance. And so what is abundance is something I know we're going to talk about, but for me what it brings up is it's like this overflowing joy or this overflowing pool or pond where things are just at the brim and gushing over, that ripple effect. It's that kind of infinity pool idea that everything's always full to the top and then some. And so that's what abundance is for me, and I can apply it to every area of my life. And so it's not just money, which most people relate it to, but it's joy. It's about living in the vibration, living in the moment, living in that space of ease and awe and grace. And I think it's really important that we identify that we find that space of wonder, of amazement more often. And when we are in that space, we allow the flow. We allow things to flow to us and through us. And when we are in that presence, all things become possible. And so how I get to this place is I open up to receive that. I really become a beacon and a light and a vessel of that allowance. And it's not about forcing, and it's about sourcing. That's what I always used to say. Source it, don't force it.
So
and
I
it's
have a
about
question.
finding that alignment, with the higher, and then bringing it into integration with what's physical and what's tangible, and then finding that kind of floating area of everything above and in between. So I've gotten here through a lot of inspirationally guided work. I've been writing books, I've been channeling, I've been doing blogs, I've been doing readings and healings for years, and I've been doing a lot of self-work too, a lot of self-love. And once I got to the point where I was full, past 85%, I started seeing that the fountain could start to spit, it could start to spray, it could start to spew and really overflow. And when we're in that space of overflow, that's where the majesty occurs, right? If you look at a fountain and the pool of underneath of it is not full, it's merely going to gurgle, and it's going to burn out the motor. And I think that's what so many people do, is they mistakenly think they have to over-effort in order to create this display. And it's not about that. It's about filling up self first. And as we get to the point of self-healing and self-love, then we can express with so much more joy and radiance that expression that we're supposed to be. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I want to go back to when you said, because I feel that this is a question that people have, that listeners have. So when you got to this, because you talked about how you got to this place is by tuning into the higher, to the angels. How did you even get to that point? Because maybe people that are listening are not even at that point, right, that they're not tuned into that. So were you always, this is two questions, were you always like that, where you were able to tune in, or was it something that, an adversity or something that happened in your life that took you to that place of, where we get to that space of down deep in the bottom, where we have no other way but to rise above, and then something happens that jars us out of that. So if you can, go from that space so people kind of have an idea that this wasn't just, So it was
more of an awareness. The first thing that I talk about in the book that I'm writing, Abundance Consciousness, and the first thing that I do every day to start my day, and I would say the beginning of the story, is that awareness is giving permission, inviting them in. As soon as I realized you had to invite the angels into your life, I wanted more of that. I wanted to do that. If I could have a cheerleading squad on my sidelines all the time, I wanted to have that. And I started playing with oracle cards years ago and going to women's groups and just really doing guided meditations with personalized message at the end. And I just really started realizing how important this message from Spirit is to us all the time, and that we can have that and we can have more of that if we invite it and we ask and we give permission. So every day I wake up with my head still on the pillow, and I say the I am, the archangels, the ascended masters, the angels, and all of my angels and guides. I give you permission to work miracles in my life. And you can make an abbreviated version of that. You can just wake up and say, the universe, I give you permission to work miracles on my behalf or in my life. It doesn't have to be quite as specific as the way that I say it. Turning on a light switch, you're turning on an activation to really allow the universe to flow to you and through you. And invite in your angels. Ask them for their names. They will tell you. They'll show you within a couple days. Just give them like 72 hours, and they'll really start to communicate with you. Whether you see the same name on a billboard and a receipt, and it's your server and your whatever, you'll start to see the signs, and you'll know. You'll start to see repeating numbers, 555 and 444, maybe 1111. And those are like them dropping coins or leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for us to know that we're totally supported. And I think most people start that way. We start to notice the signs, and it becomes, in my perspective, a grand adventure, a grand scavenger hunt, if you will. If every day can have that element of mystery and surprise and adventure as if we were a child on a scavenger hunt, how much more fun can life be? So I started saying, well, I'm going to do that. That's how I'm going to live my life. And so then I wake up and I also say, what kind of miracles am I going to participate in today? Because I used to say manifest, right? And then I was like, well, I'm not the only one doing it. And I don't want to say what kind of miracles am I going to receive, because sometimes I have the power. And so I found the word of participate in, and it feels really co-creative and really energetically in sync with our power and our presence in the universe. And so going back to the original question, it's inviting them in and giving permission, and then starting to see the trail that comes from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said is really important, too, the signs, that we become aware. So when things happen, if we see a billboard or we hear a song on the radio, or we see a bumper sticker in front, or someone says something to us while we're out. If we can become, that's what I hear you saying, is we can become aware, which is true, to become aware of those incidences that are happening. It's the synchronicities that are happening to bring us awareness, to wake us up, to be able to manifest and see what's going on in our lives. Like, ooh, if I'm waking up angry and I'm drawing angry people in, you know what I mean? That's because that's where we're vibrating at. I think frequency and vibration is also important too,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so when we start our day on full, in surprise, in that element of adventure, in that take a moment, place your hands on your heart and say, I love you, right? And then just kind of pick your whole self up and see what kind of adventure you can go on for the day. Even if you're going to the same job you've been at for 40 years, even if you drive the same route you've been driving, your route can be different. Your job can be different by the perspective you bring to it, by the openness and the willingness to see the signs and the inspirations. And I think that's a huge thing, that people have this fear or this barrier up. Well, my life is so mundane. How can I start to see the extraordinary? Or how can I go from lack to love? And it's all about that openness and that perception. Like you said, seeing the synchronicities, even starting like a synchronicity journal would be a fun thing, and start logging it, start writing it down. On my way to work today, I saw 5 repeating numbers. I heard 2 songs that felt important to me, and I saw this bird fly out of nowhere that was bringing me a message. I just knew it, or whatever it is, and kind of starting to track it so that after a week or 2 weeks, you really start to feel like, I don't even have to write it down anymore. I trust. I know. This has kind of become my new way of being. And it brings a lot more fun, I think, to life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And something else I want to go back to, which I feel is really, really key and important, is about self-love. We have to love ourselves, and we have to go in, and I hate to say the word have, but it really is a need to go in and within ourselves and find out what brings us joy. So I feel, can you give any tips to the listeners as to how to begin that self-love?
Yeah, I would say make a list of 10 things you love to do, and do at least 4 of them on a daily basis. And that's putting you at an operational point of, well, my worth to myself is at least 40%. And I know that sounds pretty low, but for a lot of people, that's where they're starting, and that's a really reachable, attainable goal. And then the key is to get yourself boosted up to that 80-85% range. And if we can go every day where we're doing 8 to 10 of the things where we love, and maybe that includes leaving a job we don't like or leaving a significant other we don't like, and those things can come up as hardships, and we say, well, how can those be self-love? Well, because we're anchoring into our truth, right? But we're reformatting our schedule and our priorities, if you will, based on what we're allowing into our life and what we're allowing to take up our time and to fill our time. So without any of those big things looming overhead, start with some small things that you can do on a daily basis that really activate that sense of inner joy and inner peace. And then also think of what nourishes your heart, not just what brings you joy and happiness, but what nourishes you, what makes you feel good. Let's talk about second chakra a little bit here, where place your hands on your womb space or your pelvic floor if you're a male, and find what really brings you that sense of wholeness. And when you get into that place, even if it's just for 5 minutes, a couple times a day, and you get into that place, you can really dig in and say, like, yes, this is me. I love to write. That would be something that I would say. Or I love to draw. Or I love to communicate with others. Or I'm a good listener. Or certain things that we do that we know really cue us in terms of feeling nourished. We start to identify with those I ams. And we can find more of the core of our being. When we feed that core, then we start to radiate our truth. And when we radiate our truth, that's, again, like the fountain overflowing. We become this beacon of attracting more attractiveness. We want to bring more light into our life. We want to shine more light first, and light attracts light in that way. So that's what I say about self-love. Those are some little tips that I like to give people to start.
I love that. Because it's so true. And I also want to add in there, too, I feel that, and we'll see if you agree with this as well, it's learning to say no, and it's learning to trust our intuition, and it's learning to set boundaries, when we can set boundaries. I mean, I found myself as a people pleaser all my life and wanting to make sure everybody else wasn't sacrificing my own self until I, too, came into falling in love with myself. So I think that's just as important as well as really, like you said, the nourishing and really going into that wound and feeling, because that's where we give life, it feels like, you know, well, we do give life, but I mean life in the sense of our, it could be our career and our purpose.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the other thing about that, too, is we know how to use discernment and to set boundaries when we know what we're worth. And what I mean by that is if we don't know what else we're going to do with our time, then we tend to do what other people want us to do. But if we know what we want to do and what makes us happy and what allows us to feel good, then we're more likely to say no to others when it doesn't feel like it aligns with those things. So taking the time to really listen in and make that list, or do a couple journal prompts, or listen into your body or your heart and your inner space about what brings you joy, then it's easier to filter out the things that don't. Because you might be in a mess of a bunch of uncomfortableness, but you don't know how to get out of it because you don't know what else to do instead.
Right. So true. So true. And I want to go back to the manifesting for the abundance consciousness. And I feel that I'd kind of like to go around because we've established that the abundance is more than just monetary. We know that it's about beauty, it's about life, it's about joy and things like that. But I feel that since we're in this world and we have this tool called money, that a lot of people are maybe in a place of lack or wanting to make more money or wanting to start a business. So you've been so great at being able to manifest. Just moving here, from Michigan, and darn, you just kind of like, the studio and clients. And so can you give the listeners any, some tips on, or just tips and information on how one can really manifest?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is be yourself full out. I gave myself great permission when I first moved here to 100% be myself wherever I am with whomever I'm with. And that was part of my reason for moving, too, is because I wanted to be in a space where I could give myself that permission without any attachment to any story, anyone else, anything. And so every day I don't want to say play, but I play full out. I go and I express myself and who I am and what I do for a living without pushing, just by being. People will tend to ask questions, what do you do, and then I just will state kind of briefly what I do, and then they want to know more about that. Or I can just be sitting, I'll be, out and about by myself, just kind of in this bliss state, smiling and happy, and people will want to talk to you because you're just radiating that peace, right, or that joy. And they'll say, what's so funny, or why are you so happy, or what's got you? And I'll just say life, and something will spark. It's like divine always brings us the right people at the right time. So the biggest thing is, and it's one of the chapters I have formulating in this new book, is being 100% in and of yourself. And when you're in that space and you create this full bubble of completion around you and you radiate your truth, you're going to attract people who are interested in that. It's like the kid kind of poking at the balloon, right? Like, what is this and how do I play with it? And then you get to really be yourself and introduce yourself. And so that's one of the greatest ways I've made some connections, and I've made impromptu, and I'll be able to meet them the next day if it works in our schedules or whatever, because I just meet them in public and I'm just radiating my truth. So the number one thing is be in and of yourself in all times, and honor that. And another way that I've really been able to manifest is I totally believe in celebrating before the miracle happens. Walking down the street with ease and grace and trust that I know that everything's going to divinely align itself for me and to me, because what I'm putting out to the universe is of compassion and trust and love. And so I know I have my angels with me, and I work with them, so they work with me. And I just want to share a fun story. I was driving around. I was looking for a couple places to work in terms of not just personal clients, but I wanted to put a little bit of roots in somewhere. So I was going to a few different metaphysical shops around, and I went to a couple in the morning, and I was going to find one more, and my GPS kept rerouting me, and I could tell I was starting to get a little frustrated, and I was really noticing that I was getting ungrounded, and I was very hungry. And all of a sudden I look up after the GPS has gotten me lost again to where I think I'm going, and there's this place, and it's called Deegan. raw cuisine. And I was so excited because I'm mostly raw. I was so excited. I went out and I ran up to the door and it was locked. And I noticed all the windows were papered over. And I'm like, maybe they're not even open yet. So I was kind of bummed out. And I went back to my car. Before I could get back to my car, the woman who owns it comes running out. Oh, honey, you have to come in. She sits me down into a chair. She calls herself a shaman chef. She energetically infuses everything. They prepare all their food in water from Mount Shasta. You know, she feeds me this whole meal, and she just asks me for a love donation at the end, and now we become dear friends, and I go pick up food there every week. And it became this, like, miracle. Like, my angels were just looking out for me. So even in those moments where we start to get off, just remember when we stay in faith, the miracles ensue. And the universe really always does look out for us and support us. And so I hope that answered the question a little bit. I know I got off on a story, but I just wanted to give an example of how even in the lull moments, the biggest miracles can happen. So kind of don't ever give up faith and stay in alignment with yourself and know when, keep your eyes open, I guess, is a really good ticket to the end of that story.
And I love that because really what you're saying, like, because we do get frustrated when, I mean, I know I've been in that place, and I'm sure listeners are like, oh, yeah, you know, when you're getting lost and you're like, oh, you're kidding me? Like, what's happening here? And if in that moment, if you can become aware that Spirit is guiding you to some place that you don't even know why, and that's really what you're saying, is really becoming aware of that and paying attention, that's a sign. Because you could have easily said, forget it, you know, or whatever, but you didn't. You know, you got out of the car and you still, and then she came out. So everything kind of played out, and you were supposed to be there and make that, you know, that connection. So I love it. It's so true. But I do want to say something. Okay, what if we have people that are shy, that they're not used to being so open in public and share, and, you know, and talking to other people?
Sure. So find an outlet that feels good to you. So usually I find that most people that are maybe not outgoing, right, they're a little shy in terms of vocal expression, are really good writers, or they're really good artists, or they're really good at body movement or something like that. So they have a strength where they can communicate really well. So be in that space of strength. So if you're good kinesthetics and you love going to yoga, be fully in your present space of yoga or dance class or wherever it is that you go. And maybe that's the place where you start attracting people because you really find yourself in your beauty. Or maybe you're really good at writing and you can start posting things in social media, or you're a really good artist and you can do the same. You start to express yourself in your way of being. Maybe fashion is your thing and people will be attracted to you because of what you kind of put together in your unique design. Everyone has a gift. Everyone has a beacon, kind of in the same way that like male birds are very ornate, right? They're all given the gift of that to be able to attract their mate. We're all given some gift to be able to attract other people to us. So finding what that is and focusing on it and utilizing that tool. So you don't have to sit down and attract people at happy hour maybe. Maybe that's not your thing, but maybe there is something else that you can do, be it expressing your work and your love and your communication skills in your way at some point every day. And it's kind of like you're putting a stake in the ground or an anchor into the ethers that I am putting my energy out. And then the other really important thing that I is another chapter in the book and that I work with, and this is slightly newer to me since I've been in California, as I say, I am asking for an equal energy exchange. So I'm asking my angels in the universe for an equal energy exchange because I've been doing a lot of, like you said, putting myself out there. And so, yeah, it's been pretty lucrative. It's been wonderful. I've definitely attracted a lot of abundance. But there are still moments when, like I said, I was driving around frustrated and malnourished. You know, we would get even spiritually or emotionally malnourished because we're putting out a lot of energy. And so remembering to rest, to be in that state of ease and allowance and receiving. And so when we ask for equal energy exchange, we have to allow ourselves the time to rest and receive and then see what happens. And since I've started asking for that, I've gotten a lot of I've woken up to a text message from hey, can we set up a session? You know, it's almost like that's when the universe has this big joke like, yes, we can attract money while we're sleeping or whatever it might be. And I find that to be really powerful and beautiful as well.
I love that. Well, and something that you said that I want to kind of reiterate, that really what you're saying is, because I asked a question about people being shy, is that when being the creative expression of you, whatever that is, and I love that tip and that information that you brought out, because it really is, if you're into yoga or if you're into dance, if you're into, painting or singing, those are the aspects, those are the creative expression of you. And in that, when you are being just you and expressing you, then people are asking you, then you're in this dialogue and making these connections, and that's when the magic can happen, as to somebody says, so what do you do? And then you open up and, and you start to say, oh, I love painting, and they can see that the creative that you are, and so you can build and gain clients or, whatever you're looking to receive, So
right.
I love that.
And some people are really just looking to receive more of a soul tribe,
Exactly.
And so finding what their heart resonates with in terms of their form of communication, and finding other people that do the same and appreciate the same. And I think that the number one big step for a lot of people and for abundance consciousness in general is feeling supported. I know that I feel as supported as I am with Mom, and I have friends all over the world, and I'm alone, but I'm never alone, even though I'm here and I'm still meeting people and I'm new to a city. Yes, I'm fortunate enough to be outgoing and I'll make friends with strangers, but at the end of the day, I'm still talking to the same people over video chat every day, reconnecting, kind of quote unquote going back home to my soul family, which are some of my best friends in the world, because that's what allows us to feel supported, that when we have those moments where we're totally riding on faith, it's like when the gas station's flying into the gas station or coasting in on fumes, we have those moments, and everyone does, that we have people that are there to help blow wind in our sails, with us. We're just going, you're almost there, you got this, you're totally okay.
Exactly.
And so connecting with a soul tribe and a spirit tribe is one of the first and most fundamental things and elements of abundance consciousness is feeling supported. So not only with your angels and the universe, which is huge and important and one of the newer avenues for a lot of people, but what most people don't realize is a lot of times they're either alone and they know they're alone, or they're with a bunch of people but they're feeling alone because they're not connected with their soul tribe. So inviting that into your life, and when you're in that form of true expression with your passion, which is what we were just talking about, expressing your passion, that's when you really attract those others and you start to fill up. Self-love and soul tribe are the two most fundamental factors in filling up your vessel.
Absolutely. Well, now, so if anybody, for the people that are listening, do you have any workshops? Do you have how people can get a hold of you, which we'll have this information as well on the video after the show. So, because I know you also have a book, Lipstick and a Compass, which sounds absolutely amazingly wonderful, along with this other book, Abundance Consciousness. So how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, people can find me on Facebook as Lynn Jarvis, my personal page, and that one is pretty easy to find. And then I also have an email, majestic386@gmail.com. And then I even have a phone number. It's 202-810-2882. And that's my Google Voice number, and anybody can contact me there directly to set up sessions. I do abundance consciousness coaching, and I pair that with theta healing and energy work at the same time. So a full session really is pulling out triggers, figuring out what's going to be empowering, working on inspirational motives, and working in your strengths. And then finding any belief systems that are blocking you from moving forward. And being able to remove and replace those belief systems is one of the most powerful things that we can do to move forward. And then we really round the session out with doing some chakra clearing, some energy cleansing, some filling up, some polishing off, and feeling really centered, full, and fresh, and a lot lighter than you were when you started. One session makes a huge difference. I ideally love to do a sequence of 4 where people do a package, and I do give a bit of a discount, too, on the package of 4 sessions, and I guarantee your life will be drastically different at the end of 4 sessions. It's a really, really fun model I've been doing for a long time, and I'm just super excited to be adding this newest element of abundance consciousness into the overall theme of the way that my healing works. And I'm already really impressed about the results I'm seeing in people, and I just couldn't be happier to be able to share this as such a vessel that I am of this information and experiential in my own life. So people can get a hold of me that way.
Yes, will you be giving these specials on your packages for the listeners that are tuning in for the next 2 days or 3 days that actually listen?
That's perfect. That's a great idea. I'll give 20% off to anyone that mentions the show over the next 3 days.
Perfect. Okay. We'll go ahead and put that in there as well. So one last question. What is one thing that you can give our listeners that has made a huge impact on you on this journey?
Invite in / ask for permission, and then always listen. Always be willing to listen to guidance. Follow your passion, yes, but make sure you're always checking in. So I always make sure that I'm tuned in with spirit. And even if you're a beginner in that regard, you can use things like a pendulum or asking for a specific song on the radio or asking for a really strong sign, things until you start to get more familiar with maybe some of the higher level gifts. So you're checking in, and even if it's just being consciously aware of the fact that you want help and you ask your angels for help, before you even get it, you're consciously saying, I am not running blind. I am making this choice, again, from consciousness, and that's a huge core word of abundance consciousness, is being able to check in all the time and make sure that you're making the highest possible decision that you can.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Oh, my gosh, Lynn, thank you so much for being on the show today and giving us these amazing tips and, just sharing with us what you're doing in the world to help other people out, to guide them on their journey. So really, thank you again so much. We really appreciate having you on.
Thank you, Linda. I have loved it, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for all the listeners out there who joined us today on the call today, the ones who will be joining us via YouTube. We thank you so much. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, comment, and like us. And you can actually join me next week for 2 shows. One, on Wednesday evenings, we're going to be getting a new show called The Golden Truth, Raw and Real. That'll be on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on Thursday, our regular shows on May 12th will be Your Soul Purpose and the Sacred Feminine with Ashera Eden. So thank you again, Lynn, so much for being on the show. We really, really appreciate having you, and thank you for the listeners who joined us today. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
A Napa guy knows not to judge a man by his car's multicolor paint job or absence of modern gadgetry. Who cares if it's technically old enough to vote and the windows are powered by the strength of your left arm? Your monthly payment is $0, and it'll stay that way. Because with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep anything on the road. She may not be pretty, but she's all yours. That's Napa know-how.